Let's look at homework 13 then. So we have a fictional paintball company, just a made-up scenario, which are similar to a lot of the questions that you would get in the exam. So we've got a paintballing business, a maximum number of visitors at a time is 20, and they can hire paintball guns for the day. So the first question talks about how the guns are serviced regularly for safety reasons, and a service is triggered by the gun being used for over 1,000 hours, or if 15 days have passed since its last service. So question 1A relates to those facts and asks you to state two variables that need to be created to store data for each gun. So looking at the numeric information there, we could have the number of hours since its last checkup, number of days since its last service. We could have another variable Boolean type to tell us whether it needs a service or not as well. So remember and give the correct variable types for that question as well. Part B says each gun takes 10 minutes to service, but older models take longer, and you get 5 more minutes for each year of each full year for the gun's age, and we know the year of purchase for the gun, and when we're talking about constructing a general expression showing the time needed to service any gun. So we're looking for something like time equals, I guess we can use the current year, so it's just general, minus the, just write this again, year of creation. So that would tell us how old it is, which we need to multiply by 5 minutes and add the 10 minutes on that any other gun takes. So if you think about this year, we do a practice question for that one. So if we had a gun that was made in the year 2000, and obviously this year's 2016, for every year difference we would have 5 minutes. So that would give us 16 times 5 minutes plus the 10 minutes service for that gun. For a gun a year old, it should take 15 minutes. So we do 2016 minus 2015 equals 1 times 5 plus the 10, which is 15 minutes. So a general expression, usually have to do a little bit of logical thinking and experimenting to come general expression, which would be something with the lines of time equals the current year minus the year of creation times 5 plus the 10 minutes on that, something along those lines. Number 2, we have a programmer creating code. State two techniques the programmer could use to make the code easier to read. So obviously with Python we have to indent, but indentation makes programs easier to read because we can see where loops begin and end, and if statements begin and end, and because the items that are executed inside if statements are indented, it makes them easier to read and understand. We should always choose sensible variable names, because then those make it easy for programmers to understand what the variable is being used for. Blank lines to break up the program make it much easier just for your eye to follow and read, as well as internal commentary explaining the actual functionality of the code that people are looking at, as well as creating modular code, which is something we will do in our next steps in programming. So we have next question about a programmer being very inexperienced and make regular errors. So it's asking us about the different types of error that we can make in programming. So syntax error is one that a lot of you guys still make, and I guess everyone makes them, that's why one's perfect. This would be a syntax error because we can read it and it makes sense correctly to us, but we've broken the laws of the programming language. What we should really have is the variable equals with the assignment and then the kind of calculation happening afterwards. So syntax errors are where you break the rules, the programming language. We have logic errors, which it's very easy to make errors with. It's where you haven't thought through of the logic correctly, and we usually find these when we're doing and we also have execution errors, and those happen after the program has been executed, usually when someone types in the wrong variable type and if we don't have strong enough validation. If we needed an integer and someone typed a string, for example, then we would have a problem there. Next question talks about inputs for testing. So if you think of this box, if you like, as the boundaries for inputs, and these are the actual boundaries themselves. Anything inside the boundaries is known as normal. Exactly on these boundaries is obviously known as boundary testing. And then anything that exists here, outside the kind of normal reality, these are known as erroneous testing. So numbers that are out with the range, different types of variables, anything at all goes as long as it's not within the boundaries or at the boundaries themselves. Number 5, programmer has forgotten to include code which checks the group size does not exceed the maximum allowed number. So you're being asked to write pseudocode or code to complete validation, basically. So if you look at it, the code on the next page, there are 2 different types of users, or groups, or people that can come along, and that's a number of adults and number of children. So obviously we're going to have to use an if to check the range, but in order to do validation, we are going to have a while loop. So you've got to think about the limitations for that. So is it while it's less than 20, while it's more than equal to 20, which is the correct condition when the loop stops executing, and have a think about when you want it to repeat. Number 3 is actually number 5, it's number 6, sorry. Is a trace table, or sorry, not a trace table, a testing table, just to check that you can see what the output is for each condition. So in the first one, we have 8 adults, 0 children, so you've got to pick your way through the code, thinking about what actually happens when those are the input numbers. For the second one, when there's 2 adults and 2 children, thirdly for 12 adults and no children. But the final 2 rows in that table, you have to choose an input that would trigger the normal pricing output, so what numbers would allow that. And then for the last one, family discount, you've got to work out how to get that output to display, but the minimum number of each category of person that would actually trigger that. And then the final question is about identifying lines of code in the program which relate to the constructs below. So we've got 4 things to try and find. So a comment, hopefully you can find the comments. They're usually started with a hashtag. Integer variable initialization, we're going to have something equals something, and you're going to have to spot that it's actually been set to an integer on the right hand side where the assignment is taking place, and the initialization is going to be very early in the program. Usually we would do step 0. Selection is to do with the program executing one piece of code or another, depending how many else if statements we have. And iteration are loops, and obviously we know 2 types of loops. You've got fixed and we have conditional loop types.